Hey y'all, as you can plainly see, this is not the cold open we keep promising that we'll finally release. We're eventually gonna finish the piece and post it, but for now, this is what you got. So, the last 20 days in MAGAland have been the longest 10 years of my young life. Each day brings a new indignity, which we will cover at length here in a minute. Quick side note, Bridget decided on Inauguration Day that anytime she sees a maggot in the wild, she will call them out as Nazis. She usually rolls with me or the head writer as her dedicated henchman, so nobody in their right mind would get physical with her while we're around. Perfect plan, right?
I think so.
Hell yeah. So, earlier today, Bridget and I were at the store getting snacks and whatnot for the after-show party that we always have for the crew and the folks that show up to be an audience to this circus.
Let's hear it for the audience!
Yeah, the ones that showed up. Blake! I'm gonna keep giving you shit about that.
It's oddly specific.
So anyway, we're headed up the soda aisle when we clock this MAGA jackass headed our way in a gray t-shirt with big MAGA letters all across his moobs, and a very worn out red, why yes I am a fascist MAGA hat. As he walks past, Bridget says, I didn't realize the store allowed Nazis to shop here. And I say, fucking fascists, am I right? We continue up the aisle, and fuck Knuckle back there throws a U-turn and looks like he's gonna ram Bridget with his cart. He comes in hot with a, did you just call me a Nazi? And Bridget says, yeah, I did.
Because I did.
Several seconds of inane drivel about how we're mental and we're the problem. We're standing our ground this whole time. Finally, once he realizes he's getting nowhere, he turns back around and calls Bridget an Oompa Loompa before slinking out of view.
Which is really funny because Oompa Loompas were the ones that showed up and said, hey, if you're going to be an asshole, you deserve to be punished. And then they punished assholes.
Yeah.
So, in a sense...
By, killing them in very gruesome ways. All those kids are dead.
Oh, yeah. They're not... Anyway.
Like that reboot where it's they show all the kids at the end and what happened to them. I think that might be worse because you're showing how mutilated they are.
But that's not the point.
Back on track, and long story short, too late. Damn, it feels good to be a gangsta. Alright, let's light this candle.
Recorded in front of a lively studio audience in rowdy Round Rock, Texas, it's the What's Update with Xander IMDb.
Season 6.
Cognitive dissonance and
socioeconomic disparity. Welcome to the What's Update. I'm Xander IMDb. Here's what happened. So, like I said during the cold open, the last 20 days in MAGAland have been the longest 10 years of my young life. It is impossible for an operation as small as ours to keep up with the day-to-day insanity, so we figure it's probably even harder for y'all watching. So, we've decided to use this segment for the foreseeable future to remind you of things that you may have forgotten or missed in the maelstrom of shit we call daily life in Trump's America. We recorded our previous episode on January 11th, and this is all the stupid, cringe, and dangerous shit he and his confederacy of dunces have done in the last 28 days. January 13th, incoming Trump officials began questioning career civil servants about their 2024 election votes, political contributions, and social media posts. For further scrutiny, Eric was spotted fighting the local raccoons over employee trash bins to dig up some more dirt. Or he was just hungry.
Yeah, he's gross.
He's grody.
January 14th, Special Counsel Jack Smith's report said there was enough admissible evidence to, quote, obtain and sustain a conviction at trial for the shit given. Okay, you didn't say that part. Now, in a similar case, oddly enough, back in 1952, there was enough admissible evidence and motive for Merrick Garland's mom to have an abortion, and yet here we are, you lazy, cowardly bitch.
No.
January 15th, President Biden delivered his farewell address, warning against the tech-industrial complex and what he called an oligarchy taking shape. Thank you, Uncle Joe, for your 5 decades of dedicated service to all Americans. With all sincerity, your kindness, warmth, and easy humor will be sorely missed.
Thanks, Uncle Joe.
Thanks, Uncle Joe.
Now, back to the tragic stuff. January 16th, a SpaceX Starship exploded in what the company called a, quote, rapid unscheduled disassembly. Yeah, that's a fancy way of saying it fell apart in the fucking sky. It was a spaceship explosion, not a reversed Lego commercial. Of course, I would give, the one person who witnessed that crash just yells out, hey! You know the ones. January 17th, due to extreme cold, Trump's inauguration needed to be moved indoors, once again denying him the audience he craves. Sure, buddy, you were gonna get that stadium flutter this time if it wasn't for the weather.
It was totally the weather.
I mean, let's face it, Trump would have held it in the middle of a blizzard if he thought he could actually get a crowd of more than 37. Also on January 17th, Snoop Dogg confirmed that, after calling other black artists Uncle Toms for performing at Trump's 2017 inauguration, he would shuck and jive for the man in 2025. Snoop, honey, no amount of money can be worth it, and in case you've forgotten, he doesn't pay people anyway! I mean, if you're gonna be working for free, do it somewhere useful, like a homeless shelter or a natural disaster fundraiser, not the Reichstag II fascistic boogaloo.
Now I'm pretty sure they're planning Reichstag 2 for Super Bowl 59, mammal.
To be continued. We'll see if we're prophets this time.
You know, if we call it, I want credit for saying it first,
like,
even though it'll come out
Hey,
way
I
later.
said it first. You didn't say it.
I
All
told
the
you
snake.
no.
The
Okay,
snake had all
fine.
the brains.
Fine,
off.
snake. Fine.
We're starting with Apollo's dodgeball of prophecy, and then I'm gonna follow up with the dumbbell of ouch.
Sorry, know what that means.
That one?
You throw like a mammal.
Back on track.
Okay.
January 19th. At a Sunday pre-inauguration rally in Washington, D.C., Trump admitted to cheating in Pennsylvania, saying, quote, "Elon was very effective. He knows those computers better than anybody, those vote counting computers. And we ended up winning Pennsylvania like in a landslide. It was pretty good. Thank you to Elon." Landslide? More like a crap-a-lanch in my eyes.
Crap-a-lanch.
Now, without further ado, let's start the Inauguration Day Frightening Round.
Frightening round. Frightening round. Frightening round.
Ready, set, no! 1. Trump didn't put his hand on the Bible while taking the oath of office, probably because he was afraid that he would catch fire Nosferatu style. 2. At an inauguration speech, Elon Musk threw a Nazi salute. Twice! I mean, you can call it a Roman salute all you want, Leon, but German media was legally prohibited from showing it for a reason. I see your Nazi salutes and raise you a Texas one.
Yeah, buddy.
Number 3, Trump vowed in his inauguration speech, quote, "As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only 2 genders, male and female." Meanwhile, Eric was heard reminding himself, boys have a pee-pee, girls have a woo-woo. Number 4, Trump pardoned the Proud Boys leader and 1,500 other traitor shitheads. It's like the Blood Moon mechanic in modern Zelda games, except with surprisingly more evil pig creatures being brought back.
Not the big creature.
Number 5, Trump pulled the US out of both the World Health Organization and the Paris Climate Accords. I mean, who needs health if you can't go outside, am I right?
Outside's dangerous.
And 6, Trump rescinded former President Biden's order that lowered prescription drug costs for Medicare and Medicaid. I mean, he's already got their votes, so he doesn't give 2 shits if old white fuckers croak now.
Actually, well, never mind.
And to remind you, all of that tomfuckery was just day 1. 1. Then moving on, January 21st, Washington, D.C. Episcopal Bishop, the Right Reverend Marianne Edgar Buddy, asked Trump to, quote, "have mercy on immigrants and gay children." The bishop was immediately attacked by maggots for being too woke. The White House soon retweeted a message saying, "The only good Samaritan is a dead Samaritan."
That's not true, but it
It sounds true, though.
sounds true.
January 22nd, Trump announced he will spend the majority of his weekends at Mar-a-Lago, calling it the Winter White House. We're like a Florida outhouse, am I right?
Because it smells like shit.
Mammal.
Well, any room he walks into is gonna smell like an outhouse.
Yeah, that's true.
January 23rd, CIA employees were told all resource and affinity groups are canceled, and those working to support diversity and inclusion were to be terminated rather than allowing them to return to their former jobs. Henceforth, there shall be no diversity, all noses shall be brown noses. January 24th, Trump ordered the Air Force to stop teaching new recruits about the Tuskegee Airmen and the Women's Air Corps. He then ordered Eric to stop spinning around and pretending to be a military helicopter crashing into Don Jr. Airlines.
Would have been a hell of a lot funnier if you hadn't
Yeah.
stepped on the punchline there, buddy.
Well, it's an Eric Trump tradition to step over yourself at every single point possible, so just try and get into character.
I gotcha. All right.
January 25th, Trump disbanded the Governmental School Safety Board working on addressing school shootings. Because if brown kids got shot in school, how will he send them off to Gitmo?
God.
We'll get there. January 26th, during his 6th day on the job, Trump went golfing at one of his hotels after starting a trade war with Colombia over deportations. Like, fuck, dude, even God worked 6 whole days before taking a day off.
And then blamed it on a snake.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Good Omens is a good book and show.
Yeah, sure.
January 28th, while holding a 3-day Republican leadership golf retreat that cost taxpayers $1 million a day, the Trump administration ordered a federal funding freeze on all public loans, grants, and more. Well, if you'll use your campaign contributions to pay to be spanked with a magazine, we shouldn't be surprised that he'd blow $3 million of your tax dollars on a lemon party.
Don't look up lemon party.
Don't Google it, man. It's gross.
It's nasty. It's grody.
January 29th, after Trump fired the heads of TSA, the Coast Guard, and key aviation safety advisors, an American Airlines jet collided with a Black Hawk helicopter over the Potomac River, killing all aboard the aircraft. Normally you'd fire them after more than 60 people die and not before. Who said this one was going to be fun?
And it's still January.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to February yet.
No.
January 30th, the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans ruled that people aged 18 to 20 should not be prohibited from buying guns. Then I say they shouldn't be prohibited from carrying said guns into the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals.
True that.
Live by the gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And January 31st, we're almost there.
Almost.
January 31st. Elon Musk and his tech goons hijacked computer systems at the Treasury Department and now have everyone's social security numbers. Congratulations! Your social security benefits just bought a new-ish Cybertruck. Expect delivery between now and never.
Yeah, because like somebody wants that nasty piece of shit.
Yeah, like, there are more efficient ways to deliver a bomb, Elon.
Hey, guess what?
It's now February!
It's February!
Yay!
Yay! Let's hear it for February. Actually, we're going to start February with something nice.
Yeah, for once.
Ish.
So, February 1st, a rare good on ya. David Hogg, a 24-year-old survivor of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting in 2018, was elected one of 3 Democratic National Committee vice chairpersons.
Ooh, that's nice.
Now, hopefully this isn't another generation of Democrats who won't do shit to oppose Republicans.
Yeah. Hope springs
Yeah.
eternal.
Here's hoping. February 2nd, Trump threatened Canadian sovereignty, wanting to make it a, quote, cherished 51st state. And don't worry, the Sudbury Blueberry Bulldogs are on the job and bringing the lumber.
You don't want that lumber.
They don't like the lumber.
They don't like the lumber.
Jim? Yeah. Jim? Yeah. Jim? I think he's kind of an asshole, Shorzy. I mean, gee, the next thing you'll tell me, he's working to remove Roberta Bondar from all of the NASA websites.
You don't fuck with Roberta Bondar.
Do not fuck with Roberta Bondar.
Or Canada Gooses.
Yeah, you got a problem with Canada Gooses, you got a problem with Canada, and I suggest you let that one marinate. February 3rd, Trump issued an executive order directing federal agencies to eliminate 10 regulations for each new one they introduce, especially at agencies like OSHA and the FDA.
What? That's stupid.
In addition, he ordered the EEOC to take 3 steps back for every 1 step forward.
And now we cha-cha.
Now, February 4th, in just 24 hours, Trump signed an executive order withdrawing the U.S. from the United Nations Human Rights Council, proposed U.S. control and ethnic cleansing of Gaza, and sending immigrants to the Guantanamo Bay concentration camp. So let's break that one down, shall we? If your big deal with this election was Israel and Gaza, you played yourself. If it was about not getting involved enough in human rights internationally, you played yourself. If it was about human rights right here in the US of A, guess what? You played yourselves. Nice job, dipshits. Thank you for your quarter.
It's funny because it's true.
It's like Dragon's Lair, but for like politics. Good game, by the way. February 5th, the Trump administration ordered NASA to remove anything about women in leadership from its websites. Well, fuck, I was right about Roberta Bondar. Shorzy is going to be pissed. And next thing you know, they're going to cut Uhura out of all the old Star Treks.
No, Uhura, she's awesome.
Uhura's based.
Uhura is absolutely based.
100%.
February 6th, we're almost up to the modern day, people. February 6th, a Coca-Cola bottling plant in Texas fired over 1,000 Latinos and handed over undocumented workers to ICE.
Coca-Cola, more like toma caca, man.
Verdad. Okay, that story hasn't been verified, but be honest, for a minute there, you thought it might be true.
Yeah, I
See,
did.
unlike legacy media, I will only lie to you once per episode.
And that was it.
Yeah, and I'll let you know every time. February 7th, Trump is ordering Attorney General Pam Bondi to target anti-Christian bias and will, quote, protect Christians from federal government scrutiny. First order of business, all Christian children will now be under the close protection of their local clergy and youth pastors in church basements. Let the hand of God be inside you, I mean upon you.
And it's still gonna try and blame it on the snake.
They have a bad habit of that. And moving on, February 8th, Trump terminated the head of the Kennedy Center and installed himself as the new chair. He says he will now be dictating the institution's art and culture, and it must reflect what he chooses. I can see it now. Nothing but galleries filled with Ivanka's tits finger-painted in ketchup. Disgusting. Now, bonus round. It looks like the Heritage Foundation is trying to get Prince Harry deported. We'll see how that shakes out next time, so stay tuned. And on that topic, stick around. We'll be right back.
Yeah! Woo! Yeah! Woohoo! Yeah, let's do this.
All right.
All right.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. So, there's this bit from the opening of Disney's animated Lilo and Stitch. The governing Galactic Council is interrogating a scientist who illegally created a hyper-destructive creature he calls Experiment 626, later known as Stitch. In a show of fairness to the new life form, the Galactic President asks Stitch to show the assembled members his understanding of the situation and some capacity for kindness or care. Stitch then says something in an alien language that is apparently so vulgar that it disgusts the entire council before he begins laughing hysterically. As a family, we theorized that he uttered 3 of the most unforgivable expressions of all time, 2 of which didn't even make it into George Carlin's famous Forbidden 7. So, here's the thing. In the Trump 2.0 administration, MAGA politics, and anyone else in the business of making everyone's life worse, the dog whistle du jour is DEI. If there's a perceived DEI worker, candidate, or sandwich maker, they're under attack from MAGA. A woman in a man's job? DEI. A queer in a straight's job? DEI. A minority in a white's job? DEI. A Muslim, Hindu, Jew, or atheist in a Christian's job? Motherfucking DEI. If they were better than your ignorant, useless ass at a job and they had to work 4 times as hard to get a third of your praise and only half the pay, guess what? DEI. But all this begs the question that I don't think gets defined enough for the number of attacks here. What the hell is DEI anyway? So the acronym stands for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. It refers to initiatives, incentives, and efforts to promote a diverse and equal opportunity workplace. It's an institutional framework that's meant to level the playing field for all people, regardless of race, gender, identity, or other demographic qualities. It incorporates a range of protections, particularly in hiring practices, financial compensation, and workplace benefits. It's good stuff. DEI practices started with the policies enacted as a part of affirmative action, established in 1961 during the Kennedy administration. Specifically, Executive Order number 100925 stated that government contractors must, quote, take affirmative action to ensure that applicants are employed and employees are treated fairly during employment without regard to their race, creed, color, or national origin. Over time, this impetus for equal protection extended to gender identity, sexuality, religion, and other marginalized demographics. For the simple-minded among you, it's a long-term effort to make sure that you don't get screwed over if you're not a cis-het white Christian male. It's a noble aspiration that has evolved, especially as different oppressed groups are brought into the fold, and it resonates with an all-around aspiration in our organization. Make sure everyone's at least 51% happy.
It's a very laudable goal.
However, if you're a right-wing, no-balls Republican, insecure, racist, sexist, egotistical, lying, hypocritical bigot, the thought of someone who doesn't look, sound, believe, or speak like you is an ice pick to the ear. Nonetheless, if you genuinely are that type of asshole, maybe an ice pick brain scramble would do society an enormous favor. I mean, maybe not for your incurably stupid future, but humanity overall would breathe a lot easier.
Especially that guy at the store earlier.
Oh yeah. In the magosphere, DEI has become a catch-all term for people they deem inferior. It's an easy way to heap derision onto anyone who doesn't fit their definition of Aryan perfection. Basically, if someone isn't in the Red Cat in-group and is trying to live their best life, they clearly achieve this advantage through DEI. How very dare the lowly mud people get to live happy and successful lives when Jim Bob's Meemaw has to cough up extra to cover her single-wide homeowner's insurance premiums.
Meemaw!
We'll get back to that joke.
That's Graham.
Now, I should clarify that despite my previous definition of the term and the equitable goals involved, DEI doesn't mean the same thing between the historical definition and right-wing hate-mongering. For reasonable humans, DEI practices are a way to prevent injustices in hiring practices that give everyone the opportunity for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness despite forces that would seek to oppress them. In MAGA land, they don't care about history, justice, or empathy. As long as someone who doesn't look like Mitch McConnell or Pam Bondi can find a way to smile, they are clearly benefiting from DEI. And this brings me back to the Stitch scene I was talking about earlier. When Trumpinistas call someone DEI, it's a catch-all substitute for whatever slur they can't say out loud in a room with air. If a black man is running a successful company, they call him a DEI hire instead of the N-word. If a beloved politician happens to be queer, he is a DEI hire instead of the F-word.
Wait, we say fuck all the time.
No, the other F-word, the one to do with sticks.
Oh, that one.
Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah, okay, that word.
And if a woman is head of a communications network, they call her a DEI hire instead of the C word.
You mean cunt?
I guess we do use that one a bit.
Well, you know, it's very, very European.
Yeah, it's cultured.
Look, I've lost track of how many times some sad-ass man-child called me that.
Be that as it may, madam. It is still a code word for a woman who isn't willing to put up with nonsense from some misogynistic piece of shit.
Don't I know it?
Yep. The point is, Republicans don't care about the history or purpose of DEI practices. They only care about aggravating and encumbering people whom they deem inferior for getting benefits that level the playing field in society and provide the opportunity for social, economic, and political success. Even after the election was over, the Trump campaign kept referring to VP Kamala Harris as a DEI candidate. And it should be noted that no part of the electoral process at any level in the US factors in DEI practices. So this claim doesn't even make any sense from a factual, administrative view. It's just Trump and the MAGA mob's way of calling Harris the C word and the N word.
At the same time.
Yeah.
A rare point of efficiency in something incredibly horrible.
Well,
Aside from the societal and political implications of DEI as an unclever slur, I feel like it also specifically highlights an underlying aspect of right-wing politics, and toward a larger point, politics overall. Raw cowardice. MAGA has the entire US government wrapped around their finger. Red caps are getting pardoned left and right, giving them the thumbs up to do whatever they want, and the current administration is turning ICE into its own Dollar Tree Gestapo.
sorry.
And yet, they still hide behind DEI as a way to avoid saying what they actually mean. Furthermore, Democrat politicians continue to pussyfoot around any meaningful action against the slow decline of the nation toward fascism. They have chosen to fully go along with this charade under the banner of maintaining normalcy in the spirit of bipartisanship. The entire world can see what maggots are working towards, and yet Democratic leadership still believes there's a quiet part that the Christo-fascists won't say out loud. Yeah, good luck with that, buddy. Remember, if you hear someone talking shit about a DEI worker, just know that they're too much of a coward to call them a pejorative to their face. And if that's the case, I return to my previous policy. If they hate you, hate them back more. At that point, your moral high ground is to mercilessly insult every aspect of their existence. They may still think that there's a quiet part to be hidden, but you can be brave enough to call them a discount Nazi bootlicker straight to their fucking face.
Which I did today.
Yeah. Lead by example. Their only options at that point are to run away in disgrace or take a swing at you. In the latter case, you now have a self-defense plea and can give them the business end of an elbow. Just remember to sing.
Solar plexus, instep, nose, groin.
The immortal words of Gracie Lou Freebush.
Kick him in the front tail.
Hell yeah. got a lot of rage.
Got a lot of rage.
Alright. So, that's what I got. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Yay!
Welcome back. we're here at the Penfold Theater Company in rustic Round Rock, Texas, just up the highway from our historic and charming downtown district. We are thrilled and honored to chat with today's guest. As usual, we'll start by asking you our 3 standard questions: who you, what to do, and why.
Okay, so my name is Nathan Jerkins. I am a founder and co-artistic director with the Penfold Theater Company, which is, I guess, this place. As an artistic company, we've been around for 17 years now, but we just opened our own physical building last fall, which we get to sit in right now. It feels pretty cool.
Very nice. And why did you start up this whole endeavor?
Oh, why did I start a theater company? Because I had no idea what I was doing when I did that thing. Man, I've been a theater person from way back, and there's a whole soapbox about like stories being compelling and people being made up as like piles of stories and all of that nonsense. But part of it is that knowing that I was interested in, spending my life making these kinds of stories, wouldn't it be better if I invested all of that time and energy building my thing where I got to pick the stories I told rather than investing in other people's stories? So myself and my friend Brian Crowder and our friend Sean Martin, there's a whole founding story, but we started this company largely to tell stories of hope and empathy. Like, that's kind of been our catchphrase for a long time. I think stories are powerful, and I think the world could use some more hope and empathy.
It's very noble of you. Is there anything coming up with the theater that you'd like to talk about for our audience?
Oh, yeah. So right now we are currently in the process of running our show right now is Ordinary Days, which is a 4-person musical by Adam Guan that I have loved for years and years. In fact, we did it as a company down in Austin in 2013, I believe. And in starting this new space, one of the things we figured that we wanted to do periodically, not every season even, is to bring back shows we are particularly proud of, because we are new to this space, but we're not new. So we wanted to show off things that we have done well in the past, and that is this show. It's a sort of, Missed Connections, the musical, trying to find your place and your people in a new big city that you moved to, right? Cool. And then coming up after that, there's always other things. We're running a bilingual puppet show called Maybelle's Suitcase in partnership with the Glass Half Full Theater, which is wonderful and based off of that children's book.
Which two languages do you have?
It's English and Spanish, yes.
This is
You're right. It could have been all sorts of languages, but it's English and Spanish.
I mean, if you had it as English and Yiddish, it would have been a bit more interesting, but...
That's fair.
You would have gotten a few more investors.
I don't think Borscht Belt is going to schlep to Round Rock.
Hey, unless you try. You gotta get the monies.
You gotta get it however you get it. And then the show, we just this last weekend finished casting our June show, which is a brand new play written by a local Central Texas playwright, Jenny Connell Davis, called Anton Chekhov is a Tasty Snack, which is, is true. But those are shows that are sort of currently in the pipeline, but there's always another show, and then we rent it out to other places. Lola's about to do a little chamber opera in here, local opera, local artists. There are dance companies that rent our spaces between our shows. We want to host other places, other companies in this place, because space is hard to come by, right? In the greater Austin area, space has been disappearing and disappearing and disappearing.
Don't we know it?
And honestly, if there was a space like this that I had regular, reliable access to, I wouldn't have opened this space. I would have just like moved into that space as someone's roommate, but that was not there. So someone needed to open up a space like this, and I guess it's going to be us.
Shout out to the Hideout Theater. They done y'all dirty.
Oh, yeah.
Before we get too deep into the interview,
Sure, man.
Let's talk about the theater itself. Why now? Why here? And why not?
All right. So, why now? We have been working on this for a long time. So we started this company in 2007, and one of the things that we figure out pretty quickly is that as Austin, even back then, the greater Austin area was just exploding in population exponentially. So much of that growth was happening on the edges of town. Of course, that's where you could afford to live. So a big percentage of Austin's growth has been on the north side of town, in the suburbs, if not in the suburbs, on the edges of it. And yet, when you looked at the performance arts spaces in Austin, the most northerly one that was around was the Hyde Park Theater in Hyde Park, which is not north at all. In fact, I remember from the 2010 census, if you drew a population center for the greater Austin area, not geographically where the city limits are, but if you took like a heat map of where everyone lived, the center of Austin's people was like Lamar and 183. And so there was this giant like geographic gulf, this vacuum, where there were a whole bunch of people that were commuting in to arts venues, central and south, or east side. And what we decided way back when is that we wanted to open up a space where people lived, and I would make them drive past my place to go see anybody else. And so that's what we wanted to do. So why now is like, man, it's taken us 17 years to be the overnight success we are, right? So we've been working on this for a long time. But of course, it's not just Ryan and myself. We have had lots of help from the city of Round Rock and their Parks and Rec department, from the chamber. Like, Round Rock has been very encouraging to us to put down our roots here once they knew we were interested in this general area.
Shout out to Craig Morgan.
Yes.
Friend of the show.
Absolutely. So once they knew that we were interested in this area, and we were able to drag a few of them to our shows to prove that we were actually good at what we did, they've been really welcoming and really helpful in ultimately opening this space in partnership with the city. We could not have done it by ourselves. So that's part of why here, and the why now is kind of a long now. And why not is like, I don't know, I needed a space to produce the shows that I wanted to produce. And if I couldn't get my hands on other existing spaces, I was gonna have to make my own.
It certainly is a quality space. I mean, like, look at the floors, look at the acoustics, and look at the trap doors.
It's a trap.
This is way better space than even Esther's has, and Esther's has a really good space.
Right? Well, and that's it. And bit by bit, like we're inviting in people who run other companies in town, being like, yeah, it's a little bit of a drive, but wouldn't you like to produce not in a barn, not in a warehouse? Wouldn't that be nice? We could provide you a not warehouse space to perform in. So bit by bit, I think we're also hopefully pulling some more people in with us because space is at a premium right now. And I want to be able to not just have space for my stuff, but I want space for, I don't know, the me of a decade ago that was starting something new and exciting and just like needed a place to put it.
Yeah. When it comes to space and also like being able to afford the space, like how important is it that like you have your own venue for what you're trying to put on, like either for performance, in a economic standpoint, from a logistics standpoint, or just from a creative standpoint?
So I'll take logistics first, because we spent 17 years storing our stuff in like various warehouses. There was a guy who let us put stuff in literally the top of his barn. And then whenever we wanted to do a show, we would rent out some performance space or some space we could force into a performance space. And we would load in a show, and then we'd load out and keep, I don't know, the little bits of what we could keep. So logistically, that was so much harder than having all of our stuff here under one roof and being able to produce in our space that we could control. Economically, I don't know, running a space is tough because in addition to producing a show and the cost of a venue rental while I'm running a show, I also have this building when I'm not running a show, right? And as prolifically as we might produce, we cannot produce 52 weeks out of the year, which is why pulling in renters for these other spaces is helpful. So economically, that's it as well. Though with as many people that are looking for spaces right now, I think that's all in the process of working out just fine. That's nothing I'm terribly worried about. But it is something new and therefore risky. We knew how to make the old thing work. If it was on a treadmill and we could have hamster wheeled that thing for as long as we wanted to, it was going to be just fine. This is kind of a whole new venture. It's sort of like we started like 3 new businesses in addition to the business we knew how to run already, right? And so far it's been going pretty well, I think, but we've been open for 5 months. Let's see, there were other questions buried in there. Artistically, artistically, like it feels nice to know what I have to work with. For a long time, because space was hard to come by, we were producing in non-traditional performance venues. And some of that's exciting, but a lot of that's real hard and limiting for what it is you're able to produce in that space. And this space, like any other space, has its limitations as well. But I know what those limitations are and can work with them and, iterate on them, which is really helpful. But the other side of that coin is I can't just pick a venue for a show I want to do. I want to do this venue and I think it'll work best in that place that I visited that one time, so I'm going to rent out that space. So pros and cons, largely pros though.
Given that this is such an expansive space, what kinds of secondary services do you provide with the space in order to keep things afloat?
There is the stuff that we produce, and then there are the other arts organizations that rent the space to perform. In addition to that, we have classroom space in the back. There are after school and weekend kids theater classes that get run in partnership with Zach Theater. They're running summer camps here this summer. The Hideout that you mentioned earlier has been running improv classes out of our classroom space as well. The lobby and long hallway around the edge of our space, we sort of run that in partnership with a visual arts organization called Round Rock Arts. So they use that as a gallery space. We've also hosted in particular things during the day, like corporate team building stuff with the Round Rock Chamber of Commerce and things along that line. Because, like I said, I have this space all the time and not just when I'm producing. So largely, if someone is looking to run something in this space, I'm going to hear them out.
Here's just a side question, because it
Do
occurred to me. Since you have things like Moon Tower and South by, and where you have loads of people coming in and needing speaking space, performance space, and I know all the places downtown, they get rented out by those to hold shows, and they just sit there and make money.
Yeah.
Is it your intention to potentially maybe kind of get involved in that and
jump into
some
that
of those
market?
people?
Sure. And the answer is yes, we're absolutely open to that. We are on the periphery of this area, and so I'm not exactly sure what traction we're going to get with reaching out to South by or Moon Tower or the various conventions that come in, but we have made some of those preliminary asks, and certainly we're open to entertaining those sorts of events here. Sure.
It would be nice to have some of those events.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It would certainly save on traffic.
Absolutely. Well, and I live on the north side of Austin, but in Austin proper. But getting up here is so much easier than getting downtown, let alone south of the river. And so we certainly, in partnership with the city of Round Rock, we are very much a Round Rock institution.
Oh, yeah.
But also, a lot of our audience is not just Round Rock. A lot of our audience is on the north side of Austin that would rather come up here than go downtown, at least on occasion. And so, as much as I can get more of those events and performing arts companies and comedians, and we've hosted magic shows here from some of the Austin magicians, and like I said, there's this puppet company that's coming in to run kids shows. As much of that stuff as we can get up here, I want to have up here, in addition to just us, because the arts community in Austin is amazing, and I want to show that off, especially with a new venue in a new space. I want it to be crystal clear to anybody who comes by here that this was a great investment, because there is so much good stuff that the city wants to have here, right? And some of that is our stuff, but a lot of that's other people's stuff as well. And if this venue had existed 17 years ago, I would have just rented out this space and performed here. But it didn't. So we opened it for us, of course, and also for the other arts organizations around here, and also for this neighborhood, and also for Round Rock, but also for the larger area, the Cedar Parks and Georgetown and Hutto, and also pretty much anything north of 183. It's easier to get here than it is downtown.
Well, I'd say that the lost city of Atlantis is easier to get through than anything downtown.
Well, that's fair.
The big question that we're asking all guests this season: if you could be any kitchen appliance, gadget, or implement, which one would you want to be and why?
Oh,
think carefully.
We had some pretty good answers to this question so far.
I'm gonna be a wooden stirring spoon. Right, the utility of that is just unrivaled. You're preparing your sauces. I don't know.
You can use it in a Dutch oven.
Right. Well, and also
if there is no chocolate handy, then you can use it.
You're right. You also have that, but I don't know. Its ability to deal with hot and touchy things without burning everyone in a rant.
That's a very interesting.
But if you leave it steeping in there for too long, it just might burn out.
Yeah.
That's also true. You can always set it on fire.
Yes.
But
don't give him any ideas.
Not. Please, don't start fires.
I wouldn't.
Is this a thing that I have to tell people?
I wouldn't set a theater on fire.
Thank you.
Theater or wooden spoons that we cook with it.
Yeah, don't do that either.
Please see the rest of the show for a list of things I would set on fire.
That came before the interview.
That's fair, man.
Cool. All right. So before we finish, we'd like to thank the Penfold Theater Company for inviting us to their theater. Also, a huge thanks to Nathan for answering our questions, especially the silly ones.
Yep.
And Ryan for, at the very least, thinking he would be here. So if you find yourself in the area, stop on by. You can find them at 2120 North Main Street, number 290, Round Rock, Texas, 78664, inside Rock Creek Plaza. Also, check penfoldtheater.org for tickets, upcoming productions, and information about classes and auditions. And for this interview, this is Nathan Jerkins. I am mostly blind. Everybody, we'll be right back.
Cool.
Thanks, man.
Oh, hey. We want to thank the half dozen or so of you who still watch this Cirque du Soleil-style clown show and plate-spinning act regularly. We do this for your entertainment as well as our own. If our absurd little profanity parade takes your mind off the horrors of the world, even for a few minutes, then we feel like we've done our job. If you can think of anything we missed in our recap of the last month, please leave a comment to let us know. Either way, try to stay sane, tell the people that you care about that you love them, remember to like, share, and subscribe, and as always, it is what it is.